Yeah, that's the kind of enthusiasm that I expect whenever I go up on stage. Just one disappointment after the other. So, I want to thank you guys very much for joining me for part 2 of my stand-up comedy series based around the United States presidents called If He Gets Elected, I'm Moving to Another Country. Now, the last time I was here, I went over the first 3, George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson. Tonight I'll be going through presidents James Madison, James Monroe, and John Quincy Adams. We're going to start out with James Madison, the author of the Constitution of the United States of America, a man who is known to have a very amazing sense of humor and just an all-around great personality. But there was a problem with that. He was a politician to the end and did not know how to run a country. And this was very evident in the fact that he was the president during the War of 1812, and he is not even remembered from the War of 1812. The one that's remembered is his wife, Dolly. Dolly is mainly known for rescuing a portrait from the White House, a portrait of George Washington. And that was the most heroic act up until Andrew Jackson decided, hey, we don't know the war's over yet. Let's just knock the shit out of them one last time. Which makes me wonder, if Andrew Jackson and James Madison were alive today, do you think they would have been so grateful that there was no internet at the time, that the truce between the United States and Britain were signed? Because that would have just been a very awkward moment all around. It's like, okay, we're going to attack the British one more time in New Orleans. At General Jackson, no you're not. Next we have James Monroe, who is the exact opposite. This was a bland dude. Like, he was one of the most boring people that you could possibly know. But he was so bland that it worked in his advantage, because he was so unanimously just competent enough that he ran unopposed when he ran for his second term. The only president to ever run unopposed, just because everyone else was just like, things are all right. No need to make a change here for any reason. And his era was, like, his presidency was known as the era of good feelings, or as it's known in the prestigious Wilson family, the era of good vibrations. And now I want to end on John Quincy Adams, the son of the second United States president, one of the greatest ambassadors and legislators that we have ever had in our nation's history, and also one of the 2 key people behind the corrupt bargain of the 1824 election. Now, the 1824 election was so important because it was the start of the smear campaigns that are now really prevalent in today's society. Andrew Jackson's campaign was saying that John Quincy Adams had pimped a young woman out to the Russian Tsar, and Adams' camp was saying that Andrew Jackson was an adulterer and that his wife was a whore. It was pretty much like what would happen if you were to make John Lennon and Paul McCartney presidential candidates during the 1970s and just see what happens. And it ended up with the guy named Henry Clay, who wanted this position of the Secretary of State because that was the biggest jump to the White House. And luckily for one person within the campaign, Henry Clay kind of hated Andrew Jackson. In fact, Andrew Jackson, when asked if there were any regrets about his candidacy or his presidency, he said, "I regret that I did not hang John C. Calhoun and I did not shoot Henry Clay." That's a level of animosity that we're dealing with. But the greatest thing about John Quincy Adams, and it's something that stands as a testament to how essential he was as a president, he had a pet alligator that he kept in the White House. I will repeat that. He had a pet alligator that he kept in the White House. Now, this isn't the weirdest, like the first instance of a weird presidential pet. Thomas Jefferson actually had 2 bear cubs given to him by Lewis and Clark that he kept caged in the front lawn. And that's okay when Thomas Jefferson does that, but I leave 2 human bears caged up in my front lawn, and people start asking questions and wanting to press charges. But I think the alligator was a very useful thing for Adams, just because nothing is better during a negotiation with a foreign or state dignitary than to use that card. I think that these taxes are inappropriate and have no purpose being enacted. I think my alligator disagrees. You want to know what happened to the last guy who wanted to lower taxes just because he was a farmer? You want to dig around for that hand for me? Alligator for the win. That concludes part 2 of If He Gets Elected, I'm Leaving the Country.
Woo!
We're going to end things on a song.